That's how I'm feeling about this. Yeah, okay. For all you that are like, oh, wow, you won the game 18-10. You didn't score a touchdown. Do you know what I've had to endure as a Steelers fan for the last, I'm going to honestly say maybe even 4 years, because even like the year Ben got hurt, like we're going to count that. 4 years, especially offensively. I know that we only put up 18, but that is 6 scores. So if we're going to do, you know how there's like girl math and gym math and boy math? This is Steelers math. 6 scores is the equivalent of 42 points because our offense can never do anything in the red zone. So 6 scores. First of all, Chris Boswell, I was saying this in my group chat. Why is he not given more respect as a top 3 or I would argue 2 kicker in the league? Homie, they said on the broadcast multiple times, which was scaring me because I didn't need them to jinx him. But he's been one of the best, if not the best, kicker over 50 yards in the last 6 years. But people, when it comes to talking about kickers, Justin Tucker deserves it. He's a Hall of Famer, obviously. But I would argue that Chris Boswell is going to be a Hall of Famer if he keeps up with this pace. But everyone's like, oh, I have McPherson, fucking douchey McFuckface. What the fuck's his name? Harrison Butker, Tyler Bass gets a lot of praise. I'm not saying those guys don't deserve the praise that they get. I'm just saying no one ever thinks about Chris Boswell, and he deserves way more because of he has been the Steelers offense for the last 4 years. But anyways, the reason I'm hyped, and it's going to be my main talking point of this video, and that is the offense, which is something I haven't said in 4 years. But we're going to talk about that last because I know I'm going to go off on tangents. So we're going to talk about that last. What we're going to talk about first, the defense. The defense was such a pleasant surprise. You guys have no idea how scared I was of our secondary because our secondary, it got better, yeah, because we got Dante Jackson in the Deontay Johnson trade, and we added Elliott on the secondary side as well, and Joey Porter would be in year 2, and we're getting Corey Trice, and Beanie Bishop's a really great undrafted free agent that we have. So I had expectations they were low because, yes, we'd made additions, but I've seen additions in the past by the Steelers that did not pan out. And the secondary allowed 1 touchdown and another scoring drive. Here's the thing about the Pittsburgh Steelers. The defense does not get as much respect as you expect them to because of how bad the offense is. If the offense was able to do their jobs, Pittsburgh's defense would realistically be holding teams to 12 and under points a game. 10 points in this one. The touchdown that came to Kyle Pitts came off of should have been stripped sack by TJ Watt, but the refs, we'll talk about the refs in a second, but the refs overturned it, which turned it in from a literal turnover of a play, which I think it was 3rd down as well. So even if it was just a sack and they recovered it, it was going to be 4th down to a to a 1st down. And then it led to the Kyle Pitts touchdown. It was a total swing of pace. So really without that, it's only 3 points allowed by the Pittsburgh defense. TJ Watt is still a god. He had 2 strip sacks wiped off the board, which, again, we'll talk about the refs in a little bit. But 2 strip sacks wiped off the board. He ends the game with a sack. He still gets another forced fumble. He was all over the place. He clearly is not losing a step. He should be in the running for Defensive Player of the Year, but knowing the NFL, the fact that he didn't get it last year, listen, I know the NFL loves to suck the dick of PFF, and PFF loves to fucking edge and then let Myles Garrett, which this is not Myles Garrett. This isn't me shit talking Myles Garrett. This is me shit talking the statisticians that love him. But yeah, so TJ did great. Alex Highsmith, he didn't the defense besides the interceptions, obviously, didn't have like a stat worthy game. It wasn't like a lot of sacks or I would say it was a good amount of TFLs. But so yeah, like Alex Highsmith had a great game. Just doing really good contain, whether it was Bijan or keeping Pittsburgh's D-line did a really good job of – there's a difference between keeping the quarterback in the pocket and scrunching the pocket so the quarterback's uncomfortable. The pocket's where the quarterback should be most comfortable, especially a quarterback like Kirk Cousins, who's not a mobile quarterback or an agile quarterback. They want to be able to step up in the pocket and be able to maneuver in the pocket. But when you just break that down, and it's such a great job by Pittsburgh's D front. Yeah, Cam Hayward, again, same thing. Not very stat-worthy, but just the fact that they were able to contain. The fact that I don't have a lot of critiques about the D-line, huge. I genuinely don't have that many critiques about the defense as a whole. There were a couple of breakdowns. The Kyle Pitts touchdown was a breakdown by Beanie Bishop, but I think it was just because the play developed that way. I think it was just a miscommunication. So that's one knock against an undrafted free agent rookie. And I think if that's my biggest complaint, that's a great complaint to have. Minka still looks great as well. Patrick Queen, no splash plays, but again, he did. Okay, this is one thing I will say. It was nice to have some consistency. Oh, it actually is one player I want to talk about. It was nice to have some consistency because our green dot was not hurt every other play. I'm not saying that we had a player that was always getting hurt, but last year we went through 4 green dots in the entire season, so hopefully we can have some consistency. The player I want to talk about on defense, Peyton Wilson. First tackle of the game, for the Steelers, and also was just all over the field. Again, he didn't have a lot of splash plays, but I was watching him a lot on the replays, and I'll go back and watch him on the All-22 as well, and he was everywhere. And I even remember because the first couple of plays, I was like, why is Landon Roberts in this scenario? Like they were the Falcons played a lot of pistol or gun. It was very rare for them to play single back because of his Kirk Cousins' Achilles. And so I was like, if they're going to be playing out of gun, we should be operating out of a lot of nickel or 3-4. And if we're going to operate out of 3-4, we should not have E-Rob in. We should have our possible Ryan Shazier replacement in Peyton Wilson in. And so once Peyton Wilson went in, he was all over the place. I mean, even the interception plays, both of them, Peyton Wilson was in the area of those plays. So I'm loving him. He was kind of like my dark horse pick for Defensive Rookie of the Year just because of his potential. But I really don't want to talk that deep, especially as a Steelers fan. I feel like if I wasn't a Steelers fan, I definitely would have brought that up. But since I'm a Steelers fan, last year I was really pining for Joey Porter and Keanu Benton. I thought Joey Porter, I still do think he deserves Rookie of the Year from last year. The only one receiver had a good game against him. That was DK Metcalf, and I think it was 5 for 55 or something like that. But yeah, so defense overall, amazing. Special teams could be you could just rename that the offense because they scored all the points. I already talked about Chris Boswell. Oh, Cameron Johnson, our punter. Please don't be hurt. Do you another thing that was great to see both in the preseason and in this game? We can turn the field with a punt. That is insane to see, and he better not be hurt. I said we talk about the offense last, so that's all I'm going to talk about. Oh, Calvin Johnson actually had a pretty good special teams day as well, return-wise. We were having when he got some time to let the play develop and do something with it, he actually would get 10 to 15 yards, which on any other situation wouldn't really be anything. But when it comes to a punt return, that's really good. Okay, before I talk about the offense, the referees. I'm not someone that's going to say the referees are against my team. There's usually 1, maybe 2 games in a season where a team the refs are legit pining against a team, and that's a real thing. There's going to be 1 per week where it's the refs are fucking this team. And for the most part, besides the ones I'm about to talk about, there were not that many flags in this game. But holy shit, there were, I think, 3 off the top of my head that I can think about, and there might be more that come to my head as I'm talking, that were just absolute dog shit plays. First of all, this one wasn't really a dog shit. This was just a missed call that I don't understand how it was missed. The Najee Harris, when he got his helmet ripped off from the fucking face mask, if it was in a pile, I get it. But the fact that it was literally just him and then Jesse Bates with it, one hand, not both, one hand on, it's horrible missed call. But then the fucking George Pickens pass interference was the biggest. Oh, I just had another flag come into my mind. The PI was a bad call. The rule is if you extend your arms, it's interference. So if George would have extended him, or if we would have seen, even if George did what he did and the cornerback flopped, then I would have been okay, the ref saw a corner fucking fly, and so he thought that it was interference. But the fact that what George did literally didn't even reposition the corner, and it wasn't it was a push and then the catch. No, it was it was so fast. Horrible fucking call. And it's gonna and the people that want to hate watch or hate stat line watch Justin Fields are gonna be oh, you had 154 yards. That's so shit. He had 2 wiped out on that play alone. So I don't want to hear that. We'll talk about Justin in a little bit. That was a horrible play. The one that I just thought of, our punter goes down, gets hurt, and the flag that gets thrown, you're all right, it's either going to be running into the kicker or roughing the kicker, which, if you don't know the difference, running into the kicker means like you were blocked into the kicker essentially. So you made contact with the kicker, but it wasn't malicious. It wasn't purposeful. And then running into the kicker, it's like you went for the block, the ball had already been up, and you hit the kicker. And if it's running into the kicker, then it's only 5 yards, not an automatic first down. If it's roughing the kicker, automatic first down. I think it's a 15-yard penalty. So you see the laundry fly, you see the punter down, and you're like, cool, one of those two. Maybe we just have to repunt it because it'll be 5-yard penalty. And then the fucking refs call a holding? Do you understand? For a running into the kicker to happen, like you're blocked into the kicker, that's what happened. That's what quote-unquote holding. Do you know how rare a holding call on the blocking side for the punter, like holdings and blocks in the back happen all the time when the return is on its way. But that never happens. So the fact that was horrible. And then I briefly mentioned it earlier, the TJ Watt strip sack where he was quote unquote offsides. It's not offsides. It's the same thing where like the refs will throw a flag when a center lifts their head before they snap it and they call a false start. That's part of the play. That is not a quote unquote football move that then develops into a flag. So TJ sees the head go up, the ball comes out, and it was in sync, if not right before the ball was snapped. TJ just had a good jump, and I think refs are like, nope, he's too good. No one is that good at football. Yeah. But it was a horrible fucking play, call because, like I said earlier, the play ended up, or the flag ended up setting them up for first down, or I don't know if it was first down or if it just, they got an extra down essentially because it was a strip sack, and then it resulted in a touchdown to Kyle Pitts. So not only was that a possession swing, it was a 7-point swing, which is horrible. So there was that. There were some other ones. I really did not like this ref crew. This ref crew did a freaking horrible job. That pass interference was by God awful. So now let's talk about the offense. I'm going to pull up some stats. Before I pull them up, I think Najee was 20 carries for 70 yards, and I think Justin only had like 3 incompletions for like 150. Let me see. But yeah, Chris Boswell was our offense. So Justin, 17 for 23 for 156. Oh, hey Google, what's 156 divided by 17?
156 divided by 17 is approximately 9.18.
Oh, wow, he had 9.8 yards per attempt. Do you not understand how the first quarter of this game was? It was like, hey, Justin, throw the ball on the exact same horizontal line as you. Hey, Justin, throw the ball 1 yard ahead of you. Hey, Justin, dump it off here. They were not letting Justin throw the ball deep. The second half, though, they opened up the offense, which I'm going to talk about the second half and the repercussions of that in a little bit. But so yeah, he didn't have a touchdown, no. But you know what he did have. He had 57. He had 57 rushing yards. Holy shit! He had 57 rushing yards. Which again, I'm going to talk about the implications of everything after this. We're just going to talk about this game, and then we'll talk about moving forward. And then George Pickens, 6 for 7. Insane. 85 yards. Pat Freiermuth, congratulations on the extension. 4 for 4 for 27. And then that's kind of honestly where like the defense or the offensive stats like kind of dwindle out for the most part. I mean, yeah, Jalen Warren had 2 receptions. Why was Michael Pruitt in so much? We had a lot of 3 tight end sets, and Michael Pruitt was getting a lot of targets. Did we forget Darnell Washington exists? Darnell Washington did have a reception though. Calvin Austin had a reception. Van Jefferson had a reception. So like Najee had a reception. So the receiving game was mainly Pickens and Freiermuth, which is what I was hoping and kind of expecting because we don't have a wide receiver too. We need one. We actually really do need one. I'm hoping that we can make a trade for somebody that's like disgruntled or not being used how they hope they are. So that's something Pittsburgh should look forward in the future. But the offense, it started bad. And not bad. It started slow. And I think the main reason was because they were, and this is something I do not like about Pittsburgh. This is just how Pittsburgh operates as a franchise, and it's a lot of Mike Tomlin, but also I can't just put it on Mike Tomlin because Mike Tomlin's been the head coach for so long that it is a franchise-based approach to the offense. I think people just think it's Mike Tomlin, but they play to not lose. They do not play to win, and the first half really fucking showed that. You're telling me that it was 3rd and 9 and you ran a fucking draw? Okay, listen, before you start typing, I know it was to hope that they get up to like 4th and 3, 4th and 2, and then go for it. I also recognize that we were on the 44, and that moved us to the 40 for a 57-yard field goal, which is a little bit better. So you're trying to get better field positions. But also, okay, cool, yeah, you might take a sack and punt it, or it might be incomplete and you punt it, or you end up getting the first down. It's just like Pittsburgh is so conservative, and it's I saw someone tweet out a picture of the Cowardly Lion from The Wizard of Oz, and it was like photoshopped with all the Steelers stuff, and I was like, honestly, kind of true. Yeah, so the first half and the first quarter especially. Also, the fumble, the QBC connection, it was scaring me. There were 2 times Justin fumbled. He was able to recover one of them. Well, he recovered both of them, but he was able to recover one of them, and it was a pitch play. But I wonder if Zach Frazier is kind of like Jason Kelce, not as a player, relax, but as like Jason Kelce has been known to have like a very different way of snapping the ball that quarterbacks have to adjust to, and I wonder if that's it. Love having Zach Frazier, though. We have a center that's so great. No, it's not like a direct shot at Mason Cole. It's just a direct shot at center play for the last couple of seasons since like prime Marquise. But yeah, so we and then Najee got 20 carries. If you're in fantasy and you're like, where's Jaylen Warren? I think they were just limiting him because of his hamstring injury, and they don't want to worry about it. I mean, unless they want to rely on Najee for 20 carries a game, which like. Najee looked good. I know he averaged 4.5 yards per carry. That's pretty freaking good. Like that's pretty good. He's currently on pace to get a 4th straight season with 1,000 yards. It's one game, but they weren't using Jalen as much. Jalen still has the like electricity though in him and that energy that you expect from him. You could see in the few plays. Why are we using Cordell Patterson? Sorry, let me clarify. Why are we using Cordell Patterson on a 3rd and 9 or on a 3rd and 7 draw play when we have Jaylen Warren available for that? Okay, just broke my brain. Cordell Patterson does not have the explosivity that Jaylen Warren has. I know Cordell Patterson had a 25-yard run in preseason. It was against 2nd and 3rd stringers. Okay, also another thing to talk about. This is a good Falcons defense. This should not be taken for granted. That was a really good Falcons defense. But yeah, Arthur Smith's infatuation with Cordell Patterson, I thought we were just bringing him in to be a return guy because the way that they updated the return rules, which he is our return guy. Can we just leave him there, please? I'm hoping that the reason they were using him so much was, again, because of Jaylen Warren's injury. So please, if Jaylen Warren is 100%, can we see no Cordell Patterson unless like both of them are gassed? So there's that. George Pickens stays a god. He had 85 reception yards. Should have had over 100, but, PI. I guess that ref was playing fantasy and his opponent had George Pickens that week. So there's that. Freiermuth, one thing I was talking about in the offseason, I don't know if I talked about it on the channel that much, but Pittsburgh's second option had to be Freiermuth because we don't have a wide receiver too. And like I said, Pittsburgh needs to really go out and explore acquiring one, especially like with Roman Wilson's injury. He's not going to be able to develop in enough time. And, that's going to be midway through the season at that point. So I think Pittsburgh really – this shows that like Brandon Ayuk would have made this team a really, really scary team. But George Pickens is great. If you're going to not know who your wide receiver 2 is, Van Jefferson is a safe option. I'd like to see a little bit more Calvin Austin just because of the speed. And also because then you're using Van Jefferson to block wide receiver screens for Calvin Austin, who's 5'9", as opposed to Calvin Austin, who's 5'9", blocking for wide receiver screens for Van Jefferson. But yeah, I mean, and then the second half hits, and the offense started to get together. And Justin, I texted Zach, host of the podcast. I texted him, and I said, Pittsburgh cannot see what Justin offers this offense and think that Russell offers him the same thing. Yeah, I know. Russell's the safer option. This team is not a contender. No one expects this team to be a contender. Most people don't expect this team to make the playoffs. So what are you worried about? I know, he's going to help mentor the development of the younger players. They're going to develop no matter what. And you know what they're going to develop against? What they should be developing for is what the NFL is evolving into, which is a mobile game. Connor, Russell Wilson's a mobile quarterback. Not anymore, he's not. No. The last couple of seasons, he only runs if it's a last-ditch effort, which in moments is when you should. I know there are times where Justin in his past has forced running, but Russell doesn't have the explosivity where on for like a 4th and 4, you can just run a quarterback draw. That's not something Russell can give you. There are so many situations. Justin Fields is like, he's not a big guy. He's not Josh Allen. He's more Lamar than he is Josh from a mobile standpoint. And we were using him on quarterback sneaks, and it was working, except for the 4th and 1 that we didn't convert, which I'm fine with. I didn't like how rushed that play call was, but I do agree with the play call for the most part. You're backing them up in their own end zone. Your defense has been great the entire time. You do get a field goal if you kick the field goal, and you're up by a touchdown or a 2-point conversion, but you're playing to win. There you go. Pittsburgh actually played to win that in that moment, but it didn't work out. But Justin just offers, and you can't tell me Justin doesn't throw a good deep ball. Justin had a couple misses. I'm not going to sit here and glaze Justin the entire time. He missed on the dump off to Najee early in the game, which Najee clearly was not happy about, and he did miss. It wasn't that big of a deal to me, but I think it was to Darnell Washington. I don't remember. It was on the left side of the hash, and he was rolling out. But he did have a couple misses. But on the deep balls that he threw, on every deep ball that Justin threw, it was completed or called back, and it looked good. That's the thing. One thing I didn't really see a lot of, using the middle of the field. Hey, Arthur, you want to use the middle of the field? Oh, hey, well, I got Arthur here. What is your play calling, my guy? There were 60% of that time it looked like Matt Canada was still on the field. 2nd and 10, or 2nd and 15 it was. I just remembered. Sound like a Shakespearean play. 2nd and 15 it was. 2nd and 15 it was. It was 2nd and 15. And you ran a draw? Again, I know you want to play the field position game. If you're going to run a draw, run a quarterback draw. Oh, my God, that broke my brain. And you do it with Patterson. Boo. Anyways, your play calling. Now, there was some genius in there. There was some play calls that I was like, that's why you got a head coaching job. Like, this was such a well-designed play. To roll Justin to the left and then have Pickens run a break to the right just by himself. Get us more of that, my man. Get Freiermuth involved more. I mean, second half Freiermuth, like, keep an eye on Pat for the rest of the season. I'm old enough to remember when Chiga Conquo was going to be, who did have a touchdown today, funny enough. But I remember when he was going to be like the number 1 fantasy pickup because of how Arthur Smith uses tight ends. I'm old enough to remember, oh my God, what's his name? He went to, oh my God, he was like a total fantasy legend for Tennessee that then went to Jonnu Smith. I'm old enough to remember when Jonnu Smith was like considered a dominant tight end because of Arthur Smith. So Freiermuth might have a great season. But once the second half hit, like even the commentators were like, they're not scoring touchdowns, but there's something here. And there was, in fact, something there. So this is the first time in a long time I've enjoyed and had excitement watching an entirety of a game. Last year I was just excited going into the season because year 2 of Kenny and hopefully Matt Canada fixed everything and we looked great in the preseason. And then the game ended and I was a broken man because I hadn't seen anything. I actually see stuff here. And Pittsburgh has to look at this game and go, we did kind of win that game because of Justin. Justin did not do like a singular play that won it, but Justin's ability and how the defense has to respect his ability and his skill set is what won Pittsburgh the game. Pittsburgh does not pick up a lot of those conversions if they have Russell Wilson in there because Russell Wilson can't do those things. I know, he's the safe option. And you know what? If he wants to throw a fit because Pittsburgh doesn't roll with him, go to Green Bay. They have a quarterback opening. Go to New York. They need a quarterback. Go to Carolina. There's plenty of places that could use a quarterback right now if you really want it. But I think if I'm Russell, I'm already making my money from Denver right now. I apparently have a calf injury that, Pittsburgh's being tentative and cautious with. So, sure, I'll just play mentor, except he's an egomaniac, and that probably won't happen. But if I'm Pittsburgh, I know what Pittsburgh's going to do, which is they're going to roll out Russell Wilson next week. That's the reality of the situation. I hope I'm wrong. I really genuinely do hope I'm wrong because Justin gives this team the best opportunity to win. And I don't remember who Pittsburgh plays next week. Zach said piss off. Zach, you didn't have fun watching that? I told Zach I had fun watching that game. He said, nah, piss off. How did he not have fun watching that? Okay, whatever. For next week, I need to see who Pittsburgh plays. I'm also actively Sorry, I'll be better. We play the Broncos next week. No, I don't care. I don't care if Russell's like, I need my revenge game. This is an opportunity. This is a prime opportunity. Should be a relatively bad defense besides a star corner. But they're young, and if you want to see what you have with Justin, this is a perfect opportunity because then you have to play the Chargers next week, and I'm going to be at that game, and I really would like to have a fun game, okay? Please, I do not want to watch Russell Wilson shit the bed against the Chargers because, anyways, it's a prime opportunity. Remember how I said Pittsburgh is going to come out and say the Russell Wilson starter? If they do, they're wrong. I know I don't have any NFL experience. Russell Wilson should not be the starter next week. I don't care if it's a revenge game. I don't give a rat's ass about any of that. That is a game where Justin, especially, never hasn't played it yet today, so I don't know how they've looked. But this is a defense that is supposed to be one of like the bottom of the league, and we just did good things against one of the better defenses and one of the most upgraded defenses, and also one of the most veteran defenses. Which I'm not saying that they're old and like geriatric and can't move. No, I'm saying that they're knowledgeable and they have a very high IQ of the game. Also, some like the highest paid players in the entire NFL are on that defense. And Pittsburgh had 42 points against them because Steelers math. But listen, I have not left a Steelers game optimistic like this in probably 4 years. The last time I felt this optimistic was probably after we drafted Kenny Pickett because I hadn't seen anything yet, and I was just curious. I was really excited for the next chapter. This is something I've actually watched game film, and I am actually excited about what I saw. And Zach said, I like touchdowns. I did enjoy the deep balls to touchdown to George, but I like touchdowns. It's not a sustainable way to watch games. Watch the video I put out today because I talk about that, maybe I change your mind. So, yes, I also like touchdowns, but I also think Pittsburgh got it together in the second half. Keep in mind, when we kicked that final field goal to go up by 8, we were on the 5, and we were playing clock management. There's a real situation there where Pittsburgh does get a touchdown if that's not that moment of the drive. Also, earlier in the game, even though the drive stalled, we were looking really, really good. I think there is some stuff here with Pittsburgh that would not be there with Russell Wilson, and Justin Fields should be the starter heading in. This is one of the longer videos I've done. Probably not going to do that well view-wise just because that's how the algorithm works. Shout out everybody, though. We're 200 away from 5K, I believe? Let's see. I think we're 200 away from 5K. We are 150 away from 5K, which is crazy because I made a video in January of this year being like, thanks for 1,000. And we've almost done that 5 times. So that's awesome. But yeah, this video probably won't do that well. If you guys are new here, though, I do these every single week because I'm a Steelers fan. Also, if you're like, who's he wearing? It's a James Conner jersey. It means a lot. He suffered from leukemia, my father and grandfather, and there's a history of leukemia and my father's side of the family. And, so there's he went to Pitt. My parents went to Pitt. My family's from Pittsburgh. I love this man. And I hope he does great things. But yeah, I do these every week after the games. No podcasts. You're watching this on Sunday, possibly. If this is Sunday, no podcast on Monday like normal. We're going to do it on Tuesday instead, but there will be a podcast. And shout out for all the support and all the skits and everything. They're super fun to make, and it's kind of now you can actually see that I know ball a little bit, not a lot of it. What's the name of this channel? Exactly. But I know more than just my skits say because I only have a limited time to talk. But these I absolutely love. So keep an eye out for the podcast. I'll have a skit out tomorrow as well. And you guys know how I end these.